Today on Ask This Old House. I think a lot of people blame their gutters for ice dams. They think that these get clogged, frozen, and that's what causes the dam.
I know.
But that's not really the case.
It's not the case.
And I'm going to plant a tree on a busy city street.
And we'll ask, what is it? It comes in multiple happy colors, like popsicles. It's rubber, has a big hole, a smaller hole, an even smaller hole.
That's next on Ask This Old House.
You can't tell from today's weather, but we had one of the worst winters this year that we've ever had. We had snow every 2 days for months, and I had a lot of problems with my roof. I ended up with an ice dam running from that end of the house to that end of the house across the entire drip line of the house that was almost a foot thick and a foot tall. There was water pouring down from the window frames, between the window and the storm window, landing on the windowsill, pooling on the floor. There was absolutely water everywhere here. I assembled an entire arsenal. I got up on my 28-foot extension ladder and first of all started chipping away at it with a hammer. And then I tried a bow saw, and then I went up to a rotary hammer and was up there with a rotary hammer actually chipping away at the ice dams trying to get the water to stop flowing into my dining room. We survived last winter, but I want to make sure that we never have this problem again.
Well, Fred, you're not alone. A lot of people had the same problem you did last winter, ice dams.
Well, we had them all over the house, but it was especially bad in the back of the house here. We have an unfinished attic on this end of the house, a small shed dormer with an office in it in the middle, and then more unfinished attic space on the other end, and they were everywhere.
Well, it sounds like it was pretty bad. Let's take a walk up in the attic and see what's going on. Well, Fred, up here in the attic, it's pretty much what I expected. Very little insulation, in some spots, no insulation at all. Well, let me explain to you how ice dams happen. First of all, in the wintertime, you're heating the rooms below. And if you don't have any insulation in the floor, that warm air is going to come up and get into the attic. And when it comes up, it's going to heat the underside of the roof. Now, when you have a lot of snow on the roof, like we did this past winter, that snow acts like an insulation blanket. Now, the warm air in the attic is heating the lower layer of that snow, melting it, turning it into water, and it's running down the roof shingles. When it reaches the cold overhang, it freezes, forming a dam. Now, this process continually happens. So the ice dam gets bigger, the water gets higher. I built a little mock-up here to show you. Now, roofs are designed to shed water in one direction, down. So when it rains, the rain comes down, hits the roof, and the water goes down. In the wintertime, when you have that ice dam, that holds the water and the reservoir grows. As the reservoir gets deeper, it goes under the shingle. When it goes under this shingle and hits the top of the underlying shingle, water can then enter the house and causes a lot of damage.
So now I know why ice dams form. What do I do about it?
All right, well, there's a couple of different ways you can stop the water from coming in when you do have ice dams. But one thing I never want you to do is get on a ladder and get up on a roof and try to break that away with a hammer. Two things can happen. Number one, you can damage the roof, but more importantly, you can get hurt.
Okay, so I won't be doing that again.
Okay, good. All right, now I've had great luck using ice melt, all right? But you got to get it up onto the roof. So what I've done is I've taken paper bags and put ice melt in the paper bag. All right, roll up the bag from the ground, throw the bag up onto the roof, try to get it right behind the ice dam. The paper will dissolve and the ice melt will get in behind the dam and break the dam, relieving that water pressure. You can also use a nylon too. Put a nylon up there, throw it up on the roof, you get pretty good at it. Get it right behind that ice dam, you relieve the pressure. Now, if you have access to the attic and you have a fan, you can also take a fan, any kind of fan, and face it in the area where the water is coming in from the ice dam. Turn the fan on low or medium, and that will actually blow the cold air from the attic into the eave, freezing the reservoir, stopping the water from coming in. Now, either of these ways will stop the water from coming in when you have an ice dam. It's even better to prevent them from happening in the first place.
I like the sound of that, Tommy.
Well, one option is to make the attic the same temperature inside as it is outside all winter long. So the first thing you need to do is air seal it. That means you want to seal up any gaps from penetrations, like this wire that's coming up. See that hole right there?
Yep.
All right, so you want to spray foam in there to fill that hole up. Now, after you've air sealed, the next thing you have to do is insulate. Now, you can insulate in between the floor joists, but if you just insulate between the floor joists, you're not going to have enough R factor. You need a minimum of an R38, and the only way you're going to get is to lay another layer across the floor, like that, and make it nice and tight. The other thing you have to do is you have to introduce ventilation. You want to bring that cold air in the wintertime. Keep the roof cold so the snow won't melt.
Okay, but we've still got this office over here that we'd like to continue using. We'd also like to be able to use this as storage space, and if there's a layer of insulation here, that's going to be tough.
Well, actually, there is another option. You can actually make this space conditioned space. That means make it warmer. The way you're going to make it warmer is you're not going to insulate the floor. You are going to insulate the outside wall, and you're going to insulate between the rafters. You're still going to need an R38. The only way you're going to get an R38 in this depth of the rafter is to use a closed-cell spray foam. And we're going to do that today.
That sounds perfect. Let's get started.
Okay. Spray foam insulation is definitely not a do-it-yourself project. We have a professional crew with a big truck and a lot of equipment. We're using closed-cell spray foam instead of open-cell spray foam.
And what's the difference?
Well, the closed-cell spray foam has a higher R factor per inch. It also has a vapor retarder and water can't permeate it. And after he sprays it, it will expand and sticks to the sheathing, sealing all the gaps. He needs to do it in 2-inch increments. Closed-cell foam has an R value of 6.4 per inch. With a 6-inch rafter, we're going to end up with a little more than R38. Just what we need. This is the best way I know of sealing up your attic and making it tight. You'll save energy and you'll prevent any ice dams. Once the last layer sets up, they'll shave it off, making it flush with the rafters. Well, Fred, we're just about done. What do you think?
Looks fantastic, Tom. Feels warmer already.
It does, doesn't it? Well, the building code requires in this attic that the foam be covered with a thermal barrier. And that means 15 minutes of fire protection. All you need to do to get that is cover it with 1/2-inch wallboard.
I'll get started on that this weekend.
All right, and have a warm winter.
Thank you very much, Tom.
So Tommy, when it comes to preventing ice dams, is there any magic to that R38 number?
Not really, Kevin. If you do a good job air sealing your attic, you may be able to stop an ice dam using an R25 or even an R30.
All right, so then why are you taking it up to an R38?
Well, I'm a builder. In our region, we are required to make our attic an R38.
So this is a building code issue.
Right.
Okay. I think a lot of people blame their gutters for ice dams. They think that these get clogged, frozen, and that's what causes the dam.
I know.
But that's not really the case.
It's not the case. It's actually your roof is 2 different temperatures. It's cold down here, and it's warm up here. So when it's warm up here, it's melting the snow underneath, and the water is running down the roof. And when it hits this cold section of the roof, it freezes and forms a dam. As the dam builds, the reservoir grows.
Right.
And as the reservoir grows, it goes up underneath the shingles. And when it gets up under the shingles, it then enters the building.
Right. So to beat the ice dams, we want to have a roof that's a consistent temperature.
Cold.
Right. And there are 2 ways to do it. And
Yep.
It's actually, it's kind of ironic that the ways are almost the opposite. One is to keep your attic warm, and the other is to keep your attic cold.
Right.
And the first way, well, we just saw it, right? You put insulation here into the rafter bays.
Right.
And that kept the heat in the attic, and it stopped it from getting to the underside of the roof.
Right, so your whole roof is cold.
Right. And the other way is to put the insulation into the floor of the attic. You load up the insulation here, it keeps the heat down here, and then we let cold air circulate through the attic, and the heat never gets to the underside of the roof either.
Right. Again, your roof is cold.
All right, so a consistent temperature roof, cold, prevents ice dams.
You got it.
Nice job, Tommy. Thank you for the information.
All right, boys, it comes in multiple happy colors, like popsicles. It's rubber, has a big hole, a smaller hole, an even smaller hole. What is it?
Got it.
Great.
Yeah. Every morning I get up, I get my manicure, and I rush off to the job site. Now, when I get to the job site, it can take a half an hour getting the nails dried. Not with these. These are nail savers.
Nail savers.
Slide them over the finger, and the great thing about them is the air circulates through this and gives you a satiny finish. It's just perfect. And now I'm ready to go to work.
So dainty, Roger.
like that?
Instead of a manicure, pal, how about a facial?
Don't go there.
Apparently no one ever has. So you guys have all played the shell game, I'm sure. No doubt you've lost a couple bucks over the years, you knuckleheads.
Yeah, magicians.
Well, with today's kids, it's all about their self-esteem, right? Everybody's a winner. So this is a shell game for today's kids. Now, Tommy, pay attention here, because I'm going to make this as simple as possible, pal.
For you.
Okay.
Now, look, Tommy, here we go. Okay, ready? Watch. Okay, keep
Wow,
your
that's
eye on it.
pretty
Keep
fast.
your eye on it, huh? All right, now, Tommy, where's the yellow one?
You're not going to trick me. This is a trick
The
question.
yellow one.
It's a trick question.
Apparently not everybody.
All right. Now, this is actually a detector to find out where there is a gas leak.
Really?
Yeah. Now, we're all born with 2 nostrils, so you can smell the gas, but you can't find out where it's coming from. With this is a uninostril.
Uninostril.
Turns 2 nostrils into 1. Now, when I put it up to my nose, I inhale. There's nothing there.
I think you need a bigger size, Tommy.
Oh, guess where the gas leak is?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a good look. It's a good look on you.
Gentlemen, it is not that.
Not that.
This turns any faucet into a water fountain or a bubbler.
A bubble.
All right, you can stick it onto the aerator at the end of any spout like this, and it can just stay there. So you turn on the water, no problem. But now imagine you're brushing your teeth. And you just sort of.
Hey, Rich, there's a little spot in the middle there.
It's going to be long.
Anytime.
Okay,
Anytime.
so now we're all the suction there, right? So with this, you can go like this, squeeze it right here.
Oh.
Why don't you just use a glass?
Dude, that water tastes like nail polish.
Wow.
So, Kevin, you've worked on your share of downspouts and gutters, right?
Yeah, mostly clean them, but I installed a few too.
Well, you know what the issue is. When you cut a piece of downspout and you try to join it to the next piece, they both are the same size. So you have to taper one side to make it fit inside.
And that's exactly why I called Tom Silva up to borrow his fancy little crimping tool. And I actually reduced the diameter of this end right here. And now, watch how easily this fits in.
Perfect.
No problem.
Well, for those that don't have Tom Silva's speed dial, Craig from Rochester, New York, sends us this tip that he suggests using a commonly found piece of wood in the workshop, a piece of tongue and groove hardwood flooring, tongue and groove. Put it into your vise. You're going to use that groove to help create the crimp.
Really?
Utilizing a 16-penny nail. I'll just put this right here. Grab that hammer.
Oh,
I'm going to see if I can trust you. Go ahead. Go.
You trust me?
I do.
You're brave.
Try again.
We're going to go all the way around the perimeter here.
All four corners. Go ahead. And one more. Got it. All right, so now you can see that we've got all four corners reduced, which makes this slightly smaller.
Yep.
And now this will fit
Hopefully.
inside of that fitting, like so.
It sure will. That's a great tip. All right, Craig. Well, for sending in that tip, we are going to send you an Ask This Old House t-shirt. So keep those tips coming. Hey, that's a nice one.
Absolutely.
Here, put your finger there.
No.
Let me crimp you.
Now it's off to Philadelphia, a city whose history is in full view. The brick row houses have changed very little in over 2 centuries. And the cobblestone streets would still be familiar to the founding fathers. Nancy, what a beautiful shaded tree-lined street you live on.
Yes, I do. My family's lived in this neighborhood for many years. It's a historical area, actually. A lot of these homes date back to the 1700s. And I wanted to show you, I live right over there.
Oh, the one with the red door?
Yes.
Looks like a typical row house for this era.
Yes, it is. And
Bathed in sunlight.
yes, one thing that's greatly missed is a very large maple tree that used to live here. Shady, large, beautiful. I miss it greatly.
Well, I'll tell you, trees add character to the neighborhood, but not just character. Deciduous trees, when they leaf out in the summer, they create shade and they cool the buildings. In the wintertime, those leaves fall off, the sun's rays get through, and they warm the building.
Yeah.
Now, I knew I was going to be planting some street trees here, and I figured I needed a little help today, so I brought along Mindy Maslin. Mindy, you've planted a lot of trees.
You bet. I'm with the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, which since 1827 has been the leading force in tree planting, gardening, everything green and beautiful in the region. And we launched a new program, Plant 1 Million, with partners in Delaware and New Jersey, where we're going to plant 1 million trees.
Whoa, wait a minute. We're just going to plant 2 today. One down the street at Nancy's, and the other to replace this one that died.
Why do you think this tree died?
Oh, well, there's a lot of things that could have killed this tree. Young trees have a hard time in the city. There's poisons in the soil that come from de-icing salt or dogs. There's also a lot of pollution in the city.
The big reason is people don't water the tree enough.
In this case, we might be seeing a tree that was buried too deeply. I'm not seeing the root flare, and that is a big stressor for trees when they're buried too deeply.
Well, I think I see a part of the problem. A few years ago, when this tree was planted, when they dug out the pit, look right here. See this wire basket? Then when they dug out, they didn't take the wire basket out. They left all that junky soil behind. So it cut down on the amount of room this tree had to grow in.
Exactly.
Whoa. Looks pretty loose. Here, hold that shovel for me.
I think you got it.
There it is. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, you know what? Those roots never did establish in that hole.
Out with the old, in with the new. This is one of the 2 trees we're going to plant today. This is a Cleveland Select pear.
Normally, when you get a tree from a nursery, it's either going to be balled burlap or container. But this is a bare root tree.
Now, I've planted bare root trees before, but always in the early spring when the tree's dormant and doesn't have any leaves on it.
Yes, usually that's the case. We have an innovative new system we've been using called a Missouri gravel bed. And that enables us to hold over our bare root trees for up to 6 months and then pull them out and plant them. We just pulled this tree out of the gravel bed this morning.
Take a look at the fibrous root system on this tree. It is so much better than the tree we pulled out that was dead.
Yeah, this is a much healthier root system.
Now, you need to check the height.
Right, we want to make sure that the root flare is at the soil level.
So if you pull that string across, this represents the soil level when we're done planting, and it's right at the root flare right there. You can see, you pull it tight.
Yeah.
It's right there. That's perfect. Are we ready to start backfilling?
Well, first we have to pull out the roots to make sure that they aren't girdling or circling.
So just try to stretch them out.
Exactly. Woody roots, if they circle or girdle, will eventually strangle the tree, and they won't give the tree access to as many nutrients as much water or oxygen as they would if they were growing out in different directions.
How's that look?
That looks pretty good.
Okay, Nancy, why don't you grab that tree? We're going to plumb it and make sure it's nice and straight, okay?
Sure.
Mindy, you want to hop over that way, and I'm going to go out here? Looks pretty good my way.
Maybe a little bit towards the building. Perfect.
Let's get some fill on it.
So, Roger, while you're filling in the soil, while you're shoveling, I'm going to fill in all the air pockets in between the roots. Air pockets are a real big killer of roots. When they hit them, they don't know what to do. They all dry out. Another way to get rid of air pockets is to water in as you're going. And the water will find those air pockets and flow into them. Bare root trees are great for a lot of reasons. They're cheaper. They weigh 40 pounds instead of 400 pounds. They have a better, bigger root system than bulb and burlap trees that can leave 90% of their roots at the nursery.
Now, we're putting these stakes to support a tree, especially a young tree like this that's bare root. There's a good chance that in the winter winds it could get pushed over. The other thing you'll notice is I put the stakes along the road, so if someone opens a car door, it can't come in, hit the trunk, and injure it.
Yeah, the arbor tie that we're using, this cloth, is holding the tree up in case of a big wind, but it's not really holding it too tightly. The tree needs to be able to move and bend in the wind in order to develop a good taper, a good connection between the roots and the trunk.
All right, we're going to put in a 3-inch layer of mulch, and that's going to do a couple of things. It's going to keep weeds from germinating, and it's also going to keep the moisture down in the soil where the roots of the tree can get at it.
This licorice root mulch is especially good for also putting nutrients into the soil. Now, when we're putting on this mulch, we want to make sure that we keep it 3 inches from the trunk.
Well, this tree looks great. One more to go. You ready?
Yep.
Let's get started. Nancy, we're going to plant a different type of tree in front of your house.
This is a Zelkova tree. And Zelkova trees became really popular when the American elm started dying off because of Dutch elm disease. It has the same kind of form. It's an upright form. Great street tree.
Now, this tree is another bare root tree, and look here. We're constantly talking about the root flare, and the root flare starts right here. It swells up, and then you can see the roots coming off it. But if you look on this one, there's another swelling area right there. That is a grafting union. What happened is one type of tree, Zelkova green vase, was grafted onto a different rootstock. So if you planted this tree at the graft union height, you could possibly kill the tree. You want to plant it at the height of the root flare. So we'll just take and set it in the hole.
And we'll plant it just like the pear tree.
You got the roots?
Need to get in these air pockets here.
I would say we are just about done.
Except for watering. Most important part of a tree planting. And there are
Absolutely.
easy ways to do it. One, you could put one of these bags around the tree, zip it into place, put your hose in this pocket, fill it up with 15 gallons of water, and it will slow release into the tree pit. If you don't want to go that route, a bucket will work just as well. This is a 5-gallon bucket, so if you fill 3 of them up with water, we have nail holes at the bottom, put it around your tree, and let that slow release into your tree pit.
Now, I want you to water this tree twice a week for the next 2 weeks, and then every week until the ground freezes, and then pick up again first thing in the spring.
I will, Roger. I love it. It's beautiful, and I'm really looking forward to watching it grow. And thank you so much, Roger. Thank you so much, Mindy. And I've learned so much. I love it.
We're happy to help. Hey, any place around here to get a cheesesteak?
It seems like that bare root technique makes it easier to plant those trees, but more importantly, to move them around.
Yeah. Well, you've taken all the weight off, and you don't need any heavy equipment, and you don't have to dig a very deep hole to get these into the ground. Now, the technique of bare rooting trees is over 100 years old. What's different here is we're bare rooting them in leaf. Right. So what happens, they buy the trees in when they're dormant, they put them in the gravel pit, and then they leaf out. Then they go in and they pop them out of the gravel, and they get all this great root system, so they're able to plant them in leaf.
So it's these gravel pits. So now that this technique is catching on, you think we're going to see more of these trees bare rooted and transplanted?
I do. The nurseries will put in gravel pits, and we'll be able to get trees up to 8 or 10 feet tall. It'll be a great way to plant them and save money.
Is there anything you have to do to protect the roots?
Yeah. These fine roots will dry out really quickly, so we'll either wrap them in wet burlap, or we'll take a plastic bag, put some water in it, and put that around the roots and keep them nice and moist.
They're looking pretty dry there, Roger.
Yeah, they're a little dry right now.
All right, fascinating story, Roger. Thank you. And if you've got a question about your house, no matter where you live, we'd love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Connor.
I'm Tom Silver.
I'm Rich Mathui.
And I'm Roger Cook.
For Ask This Old House. So, Roger, I really think you're going out on a limb with this thing.
I'm going to take my tree and leave.
Oh. How do you tell a dogwood? By its bark. Oh, the landscapers have a million of them.
Next time, Ask This Old House.
I'm going to make a grand entrance in Atlanta, Georgia. Now I'm going to cut the mortise using my trim router.
Tom, it works great. Thanks for coming all the way to Georgia to help us.
And we'll ask, what is it?
I'd like plumbing for 400 hours.
For 400. This is the direction in which you turn something to make it loosey. Richard.
Lefty.
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't put it in the form of a question. Next time, ask this old house.